Hello and welcome to Food for Thought. It's Mark Lockridge here. I'm the pastor of New Life Fellowship in Letterkenny and Milford Reformed Presbyterian Church. It's great to have you with us. I see that the Road Safety Authority got itself into bother recently. It had an ad entitled, "Lose your licence, lose your independence." It depicts a young lad who's lost his licence and ends up being physically carried everywhere by his mates, his mum, and even a girl he's met on a date. It's a light-hearted way of making a serious point. But it seems to have created a bit of a stir. It's been strongly criticised by some groups representing people with health conditions, by cyclists, and by some politicians. One politician said the ad was ableist, offensive, and car-brain nonsense, and that people who cannot or do not drive are not a burden. Now, it seems to me that this is a case of choosing to be offended, of looking to find offence. I say this as someone who doesn't drive big distances for health reasons, and who hasn't been driving for the last few weeks because of eye surgery, and who's had to be driven to Sligo 5 times in 2 weeks, and who's dependent on others to give him lifts. I didn't for a moment find the ad offensive. It's clearly not about me. It's clearly not about people who can't drive for medical reasons. It's clearly not about people who prefer to cycle, or a host of other people who don't drive. The category is very clear. It's about people who have a licence and who have chosen to misuse it. You can't read only half a sentence and choose to be offended at it, as if the ad is saying, people who need to be carried places are a burden. To read it that way is unfair and unreasonable. But it's not just about the ad, because there's too much of choosing to be offended in life. Not enough of saying, you know what, this isn't about me. Or, you know what, they didn't mean it that way. And just as that was on my news feed, I came across another story of Erin Brockovich. Julia Roberts, the actress, portrayed her in a film of the same name and won an Oscar for her portrayal. And in her acceptance speech, Roberts forgot to thank the real Erin Brockovich. Later she realised her error and deeply apologised. Journalists went offence hunting. They went to see if Brockovich was hurt by the omission. And here's what Brockovich herself said. "I thought nothing of it. This wasn't about me. It was Julia's moment. It didn't even faze me." Anyone can choose to be offended, but it's far better to ask, do I need to be offended here? Far better to ask, is there a fairer way to interpret this? Far better to put out a flame than to fan one into a blaze. In the Bible, the book of Proverbs contains much wisdom for life. It has these 2 sayings. As charcoal to embers, and as wood to fire, so is a quarrelsome person for kindling strife. And this one. A person's wisdom yields patience. It is to one's glory to overlook an offence. You've maybe noticed, we live in an offence-obsessed world. And for the sake of unity, community and society, we need to pay attention to these verses. We need to choose not to be offended. We need to choose not to go looking for offence. Not everything is an attack. Not everything is an attack against us. Not everything is about us. And even when it is to our glory to overlook it. But why is it to our glory? Because that is what God is prepared to do for us, to overlook our offences. That's what's happening at the cross. He is bearing all the pain and injury of our real offences so that those who have trusted in Jesus can be forgiven. And therein lies the secret. The more we know of God's forgiveness for our own real offences, the more we'll find it easier to ignore or forgive offences, both perceived and real, that are against us. So this week, choose not to be offended. Choose to bring water to a fire, not kindling. And maybe there'll be times we'll find it hard. But that should drive us to the God who is prepared to find another way to deal with our offences. And we'll find help from him. Thanks for listening. If you want to get in touch, drop me an email, mark@newlifefellowship.ie. Have a great week.